The power of getting back up. Today, we are going to talk about something that every human being experiences, whether they admit it or not. Falling. Not the graceful kind either. Not the slow-motion cinematic fall where the hero lands perfectly and the music swells. No. I am talking about the ugly fall. The kind where your dignity trips before your feet do. The kind where life knocks you down so fast, you do not even have time to say, wait, what just happened? Because here's the first uncomfortable truth. Nobody walks through life without falling. Nobody. Not the successful people, not the rich people, not the confident people, not the people who look like they have everything figured out. Everyone falls. Some people fall in their careers. Some people fall financially. Some people fall in relationships. Some people fall because they made a mistake. And sometimes, just to make life extra interesting, you get knocked down even when you did everything right. Life has a way of throwing punches like an amateur boxer who drank 3 energy drinks and forgot the rules. It swings wildly. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. But eventually, everybody feels the punch. Now, here's where things get interesting. Falling is not what separates strong people from defeated people. Everybody falls. The real difference appears in the moment after the fall. The moment when you're lying on the ground, your pride is bruised, your plans are broken, your confidence is shaken, and there's a voice in your head saying, well, that did not go as planned. That moment right there decides everything. Because falling does not define you. Staying down does. Now, let's make this a little uncomfortable. Some people don't just fall. They build a house on the ground. They decorate it, they hang curtains, they install a television, they invite their excuses over for dinner. You ask them what happened and they say, well, life knocked me down. And that's true. But then you ask the next question. How long have you been down there? And suddenly the answer becomes awkward. 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? At some point, the fall stopped being the problem. Staying down became the lifestyle. Now, let me tell you something about successful people that many motivational speeches conveniently forget to mention. Successful people fall a lot. A lot. They fail. They lose money. They make terrible decisions. They embarrass themselves. They start things that don't work. They trust people they should not have trusted. They miscalculate. They misjudge. They mess up. But they have one habit that separates them from the permanent residents of the ground. They get back up. Now, let me explain something important. Getting back up is not glamorous. Nobody claps when you quietly decide to try again. There is no dramatic soundtrack. There are no fireworks. Most of the time, getting back up looks very ordinary. You wake up the next morning, you take a deep breath, you admit that yesterday was rough. Then you try again. Not because you feel amazing, but because you refuse to surrender. Now, let's talk about embarrassment, because embarrassment is one of the most powerful forces that keeps people on the ground. Sometimes when you fall, people laugh. Sometimes when you fail, people say, I told you so. Sometimes when things collapse, people suddenly become professional historians who remember every warning they ever gave you. Oh yes, I knew that would happen. Interesting how they always know after the fact. Human beings have a supernatural ability to predict the past. But here's the truth. Embarrassment will not kill you. Your pride might feel injured. Your ego might limp for a few days. But embarrassment is temporary. Staying down is permanent. Now, let me paint a picture for you. 2 men decide to start something new. Maybe a business, maybe a project, maybe a new career path. Both of them try. Both of them fail. The first man reacts like many people do. He says, that was humiliating. I never want to feel that again. He shuts the door. He stops trying. He tells himself a story. That was not meant for me. Some people are just lucky. I tried once and it didn't work. He goes back to safety, back to comfort, back to the place where nothing grows, but nothing hurts either. The second man feels the same embarrassment, the same disappointment, the same frustration. But instead of saying, "I'm done," he says something slightly different. "Well, that was painful, but I learned something." Then he tries again. Now here's where life becomes fascinating. Same failure, same starting point. Two completely different responses. Two completely different futures. Because failure is not the enemy. Quitting is. Failure actually is one of the best teachers you will ever encounter. Failure tells you exactly what did not work. Failure exposes weaknesses. Failure forces you to adjust. Failure teaches you humility. Failure builds resilience. But failure only becomes a teacher if you stay in the classroom. If you quit after the first lesson, you leave before the education begins. Now, let's talk about strength, because many people misunderstand what strength looks like. Strength is not walking through life without problems. Strength is not avoiding mistakes. Strength is not pretending everything is fine. Real strength is much less glamorous. Real strength is standing up again while your knees are still shaking. Real strength is trying again while your confidence is still rebuilding. Real strength is continuing forward even when the last attempt ended badly. Strength is persistence, and persistence is rare, very rare. Most people try once, maybe twice, then they stop. They say, "Well, I guess that wasn't for me." But the people who eventually build something meaningful in this world usually have a different story. They tried, they failed, they adjusted. They tried again, they failed again, they learned. They tried again. And slowly, something interesting happens. Experience begins to replace fear. Confidence begins to replace hesitation. Resilience begins to replace fragility. The things that once knocked them down start losing their power because they've learned something very valuable. They've learned how to rise. Now, here's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the only reason successful people look brave is because they fell so many times, they got used to getting back up. They're not fearless. They're experienced. They know the ground. They've met the ground many times. And they also know something else. The ground is not where the story ends. It's just where the next chapter begins. So let me say something clearly to every person listening today. If you have fallen recently, your story is not finished. If something in your life collapsed, the book is not over. If you made a mistake, the final page has not been written. You are still here. You are still breathing. You still have the ability to stand up again. And standing up again is where victory begins. The world is full of people who fell once and decided that was the end of their story. But the world is also full of people who fell 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, and still kept moving forward. Those are the people who eventually build businesses. Those are the people who build families. Those are the people who change industries. Those are the people who create meaningful lives. Not because they were perfect, but because they refused to stay on the ground. So if life knocks you down, do something simple. Take a moment, catch your breath, admit that it hurt. Learn what the fall taught you. Then stand up again. Not dramatically, not loudly. Just stand. Because the real power in life is not avoiding the fall. The real power is refusing to live on the ground. The real power is getting back up.